Radhe, Devidasi and Damodar here.
Hare Krishna. Who is playing the Madanga? Ooh, very nice. Really nice. I thought it was you. Excellent. It's very, very clean, simple beats. I like that very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Sajinanda Nimai, it was really heart-touching kirtan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody for Srila Prabhupada's Divine Disappearance Day celebration. And we can, let's start off now with some Mangala Charana. And we'll do Mangala Charana too. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Svavadantikam Dadanastridam dantaridam gache puna puna Srimad Rupa Padam Puja Tuli Syam Janma Janmani Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha together Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvajutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidamscha Nama Shreshtam Manamapi Shachiputram Atra Sarupam Shri Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupari Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramoho Radhikan Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Gratiti Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Eguro Yadata Dinabando Swananda Dakata Koranai Kasinto Yatavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara He Dinabando Kurunaika Sindo Kuru Prasada Mayimanda Mudhe Laksha Paradhe Bahupapa Gadhe Tapada Padme Stumatishta Krishna Prata Shrima Navadvipe Dvinetram Dvibhujam Gurum Rabhaya Padam Shantam Smaritan Nama Purvakam Tvam Gopika Vishadavestanayanti Kesi Sevadikarini Guroni Japada Padme Tasyam Pradaya Kurumam Rajakanane Shri Radhangri Sevana Rase Sukulim Sikardao Shri Guru Paramananda Premananda Palapraj Rajananda Prajananda Sevayam Maniyojaya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshitarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamine Shri Varshabhana Videvi Dayataya Kripaktaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Tade Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojjvala Premadya Shri Rupanula Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudhapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Gaurikishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Sambodhe Padam Pujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sakshidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virvava Bomestvam Nirdeshta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaye Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvise Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktahyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surataupan Gaur Mama Manda Matirgati Mat Sarvaswa Padambo Jao Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpatrumata Srimad Ratnakara Singhasanastao Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Krishnalipi Sekirmanam Smarami Srimad Rasarasaram Pivam Shivata Tatastita Karshandenu Swaner Gopir Gopinatha Shri Estuna Hey Teen Thakur Gauriyaki Kariyachina Atmasa Hey Teenera Sharam Bandon Tine Morana Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vande Nanda Vrajashrinam Padarinum Abhishnasha Yasam Hari Katogitam Nati Bhuvanatrayam Antaya Madhura Balahadida Savaryo Yadrama Krishna Charanasparaša Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahagodayustayoryat Paniya Suyavasakandara Kandamulaya Vrindayai Tulsi Devyai Priyayai Keshavascha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Shri Nishinga Jai Nishinga Jai Jai Nishinga Prahlada Desha Jaya Padma Bhuka Padma Bringa Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyutanam Adharmasya Tadatmanam Srajamyaham Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkratam Dharma Samstapanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mami Vaishyasi Yutvaiva Matmana Matparayana Sarvadharaman Pratija Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Ahantam Sarvapapebhyo Mukshayishani Vashraja Shushusho Shudatanasya Vasudeva Katarichi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punya Tirtan Shevana Shinvatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hrityam Taksto Hipatrani Vitunoti Suhrit Satam Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavityutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtaki Tadara Jasamu Bhava Kama Lobhada Yashchaye Chaita Iter Anavhitam Stitam Sattve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Bhakti Sangas Sujayate Bhaktite Hridaya Grantish Chijante Sarva Samshaya Shiyante Chasya Karmani Tushte Vatmanishvare Malihai Kanishe Bijaropan Shravana Kirtana Jale Kareshe Jan Tahan Vistarita Hoy Pali Prema Pav Ihan Mali Sheche Nitya Shravanari Jal Vairagya Vijanija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartaneka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dari Krapam Buddhir Yastamaham Prabhakye Kalan Nashtam Bhakti Yogam Nijam Ja Pratushkartum Krishna Chaitanya Nama Havirbhutas Tasa Padara Vinde Gadam Gadam Liyatam Chitta Bringa Ajadulambita Pujao Kanakavadato Sankirtanai Kapitalo Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yukatarmapalo Vande Jagapriya Karpo Karanavataro Chaitanya Krishna Chaitanya Gaurango Dvichanayaka Yatinam Dandinam Chaiva Yasinam Chasharomani Dambara Dara Shriman Navadipa Sudakara Prema Bhakti Pratishchaiva Shri Sachinandana Nityananda Vidhurdendur Vasuda Prana Pallava Janavi Jivitatpati Krishna Prema Pradaprabhu Padmavati Sutta Shriman Sachinandana Purvaja Bhavon Mato Jagatrata Rakta Gaura Kalevara Matsamo Nasti Papa Manaparadi Chakaschana Parihare Pilajane Kipruve Purushottama Ivatinam Yatayuni Yunam Chau Yuvitau Yata Mano Piramate Tadvan Mano Ramatam Tvayi Pumaus Kalika Padanam Pureva Valambanam Tvajata Paradanam Tvameva Sharanam Prabhu Govinda Balame Radhe Prarte Tvamaham Sada Tvadiyam Iti Janatu Govindo Mam Tvaya Saha Radhe Vrindavana Dishe Karunamritavahani Kripaya Nijapada Cha Dasyam Mahyam Pratiyatam Itaina Mineche Namerhate Shadamudyenam Dite Chere Nitai Namineche Namerhate Shadamudyanam Tite Chere Nitai Namineche Namerhate Shadamudyanam Tite Chere Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Advaita Radhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we sing a very special song about the disappearance of the Vaishnav Acharya, Yene la Prima Donna. And
can I move Srila Prabhupada over because she
Yeah.
can't see?
this song expresses the feeling of separation from the spiritual master, from the Acharya, from the Vaishnav. Actually, do you have that? Let's see. You have it. Good.
Is Prabhupada okay where he is?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jianilo Prema Dana Give me a good story. Karuna Prachu Jianilo Premadana Karuna Prachu Jianilo Premadana Karuna Prachu Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Mura Swarupa Kadas Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kadas Kadas Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kadas Kamora Bhatta Juga Kaha Kavira Kahamora Bhatta Juga Kaha Kavira Ekakale kota gela gauranatara Ekakale kota gela gauranatara Asane kutibo mata Anale pashibo Ashane kutibo mata Anale pashibo Gauranga gunera nidhe kota gele pabo Gauranga gunera Gauranga gunera nidhe kota gele pabo Gauranga gunera Shishaba Sangira Sange Chai Koilo Bila Shishaba Sangira Sange koilo bilas. Sheshangana paya kande naru tamudas. Sheshangana paya kande naru tamudas. Sheshangana paya kande naru Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Charya Thakur. Heno Prabhu Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Translation, please. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who is filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasa Acharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where's Sanatan? Where's Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta, and where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. So this is a day that I'm used to being in Govardhan. We usually start in the morning and have talks by devotees until noon when we have a Pushpanjali, and we'll have this Pushpanjali ceremony by the virtual method tonight. But now that we're all together and we can take this time, we can remember Srila Prabhupada and what he's done for us. So the Tirubhava means the disappearance of a Vaishnava. And whenever the Vaishnav leaves the world, of course, when anybody leaves just in a mundane way, there's an impact because the soul, the super soul is there. And you'll notice that people make a difference. But when there's a pure devotee who's an acharya, who is spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world, like Prabhupada has done. Of course, nobody's done it like Prabhupada has done it. When he leaves, the impact is felt forever, all over the world. This is rightly done. It's partly a way in which the great souls are glorified, in that we notice so much when they disappear what their potency has been among us. But as Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written, he reasons ill who says that Vaishnavas die, for Vaishnavas die to live, and living try to spread the holy name around. When Uddhava meets Vidura, and they begin their discussion, we'll notice that for some time, Vidura, when coming to grips with the conversation, has to wrest himself away from the spiritual world and then become present there before Vidura to have their discussion. And pure devotee Vaishnavas, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained, have this way that they are connected to the spiritual world and this world at the same time, simultaneously. And when a pure devotee leaves this world, then he either enters into the Nitya Lila or continues preaching throughout the material world, or both, because as I mentioned, he can be in the same place at the same time, two places at the same time, that is. So the time that of the Tirubhav, there's great meaning. Prabhupada writes about it in the Bhagavatam, in a verse in the 4th canto, 28th chapter, 47th verse, in speaking about the daughter of Vidarbha, who lost her husband. It's a continuation of the story about Puranjana. And this is the verse. Being now alone and a widow in that forest, the daughter of Vidarbha began to lament, incessantly shedding tears, which soaked her breasts, and crying very loudly. Prabhupada's purport. Figuratively, the queen is supposed to be the disciple of the king. Thus, when the mortal body of the spiritual master expires, his disciples should cry, exactly as the queen cries when the king leaves his body. However, the disciple and the spiritual master are never separated, because the spiritual master always keeps company with the disciple as long as the disciple follows strictly the instructions of the spiritual master. This is called the association of Vani, words. Physical presence is called Vapu. As long as the spiritual master is physically present, the disciple should serve the physical body of the spiritual master. And when the spiritual master is no longer physically existing, the disciple should serve the instructions of the spiritual master. And he continues in the next verse. O best of kings, please get up, get up. Just see this world surrounded by water and infested with rogues and so-called kings. This world is very much afraid, and it is your duty to protect her. Purport, whenever an acharya comes following the superior orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his representative, he establishes the principles of religion as enunciated in Bhagavad Gita. Religion means abiding by the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Religious principles begin from the time one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the Acharya's duty to spread a bona fide religious system and induce everyone to bow down before the Supreme Lord. One executes the religious principles by rendering devotional service, specifically the 9 items like hearing, chanting, and remembering. Unfortunately, when the Acharya disappears, rogues and non-devotees take advantage and immediately begin to introduce unauthorized principles in the name of so-called swamis, yogis, philanthropists, welfare workers, and so on. Actually, human life is meant for executing the orders of the Supreme Lord, and this is stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:34. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mami vaishyasi yukvaiva manam parayana. Engage your mind always in thinking of me and become my devotee. Offer obeisances and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. The main business of human society is to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead at all times, to become his devotees, to worship the Supreme Lord and to bow down before him. The Acharya, the authorized representative of the Supreme Lord, establishes these principles. But when he disappears, things once again become disordered. The perfect disciples of the Acharya try to relieve the situation by sincerely following the instructions of the spiritual master. At the present moment, practically the entire world is afraid of rogues and non-devotees. Therefore, this Krishna consciousness movement is started to save the world from irreligious principles. Everyone should cooperate with this movement in order to bring about actual peace and happiness in the world. Next verse. That most obedient wife thus fell down at the feet of her dead husband and began to cry pitifully in that solitary forest. Thus the tears rolled down from her eyes. Purport, just as a devoted wife becomes afflicted at the passing away of her husband, when a spiritual master passes away, the disciple becomes similarly bereaved. Next verse. She then prepared a blazing fire with firewood and placed the dead body of her husband upon it. When this was finished, she lamented severely and prepared herself to perish in the fire with her husband. Purport, is the long-standing tradition of the Vedic system that a faithful wife dies along with her husband. This is called sahamarana. In India, this system was prevalent even to the date of British occupation. At that time, however, a wife who did not wish to die with her husband was sometimes forced to do so by her relatives. Formerly, that was not the case. The wife used to enter the fire voluntarily. The British government stopped this practice, considering it inhuman. However, from the early history of India, we find that when Maharaj Pandu died, he was survived by 2 wives, Madri and Kunti. The question was whether both should die or one should die. After the death of Maharaj Pandu, his wives settled that one should remain and the other should go. Madri would perish with her husband in the fire, and Kunti would remain to take charge of the 5 Pandava children. Even as late as 1936, we saw a devoted wife voluntarily enter the fire of her husband. This indicates that a wife's this indicates that a devotee's wife must be prepared to act in such a way. Similarly, a devoted disciple of the spiritual master would rather die with the spiritual master than fail to execute the spiritual master's mission. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes down upon this earth to reestablish the principles of religion, so as representative, the spiritual master also comes to reestablish religious principles. It is the duty of the disciples to take charge of the mission of the spiritual master and execute it properly. Otherwise, the disciple should decide to die along with the spiritual master. In other words, to execute the will of the spiritual master, the disciple should be prepared to lay down his life and abandon all personal considerations. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Uddhava gives the verse, Naivo payancha patitin kavayasthavesha brahma yushapi krutam ridamuda smaranta yontarbahis tanubritam ashubhan vadunvan acharya chaitya vapusha swagatim vyanakti. Uddhava is saying to Krishna that if I had thousands of lives of Brahma, if I had that ayu, that duration of life, I would not be able to repay you, Krishna, because you come as the acharya externally to guide me. Swagatim vyanakti means on your own path, on the path back to you. And he said, you also appear as the Chaitya Guru, from within the heart, you give instruction. Jiva Goswami writes about this writes about the verse in his commentary. He said that for a devotee, Krishna is 1 million times more dear than his or her own self. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, if one had 1,000 universal creations, it wouldn't be enough to repay Krishna for sending the spiritual master. These are not hyperbole, but they're the mood of the devotees who are endeavoring to go back to Godhead. For our connection to the spiritual world is through the Guru Parampara. We can't approach Krishna directly. But when we approach Krishna through his representative, and when we position ourselves beneath the Acharya, this is called the Acharya Sampradaya. Srila Prabhupada is not an ordinary devotee. He's a preeminent devotee, one who's the best of all. That's why his name is Prabhupada. That all the other Prabhus, Prabhu is a very powerful name. It means God. Actually, it means master. And all the other masters sit at his feet because he does something that nobody else does. And Valina Parichiyate, you judge a thing by its result. By the power of his sincerely following his spiritual master, by his purity, he was able to spread Krishna consciousness to every continent of the world, to every major city of the world, and to put it in place so that it would persist. So on the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada, obviously his disciples remember what it was like when he left, and they re-examine their own lives. This is a time when one re-examines one's life, but everybody else does as well, because we're all dependent on Prabhupada for our sustenance in Krishna consciousness. And to the degree that we are feeling the kind of gratitude to him, we'll feel that separation. Gratitude to him for giving us our spiritual life. And to the degree that we're doing service, to that degree, we'll also feel gratitude, because by serving in the mission of Krishna consciousness, taking some service, some responsibility, then there's the Kripa Shakti that comes with the order of not just Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but down through the acharyas like Srila Prabhupada. So this is a day when all of us can look and see what's in our heart. Tirubhava, it's like a fire. I think of always on this day, one of my godbrothers was, when he found out about Prabhupada leaving the planet, he basically just crumpled to the ground and fell on the floor in a heap, crying. And he didn't recover for a long time from that condition. It always moves my heart to see that. And various other devotees have other kinds of reactions, but it's like a fire, as we heard in the song, Jayanilu Premadana. He said, I could enter into fire or smash my head on a stone, because the burning from separation is more intense than entering into the fire. And so that fire is a kind of purification. That sense, that fire, much of it is like, what have I actually done to repay anything to my guru or to the acharya who's given me life and the clear pathway back to the spiritual world? And so that sense of remorse that I haven't done enough, again, it shouldn't make us dysfunctional, but there should be some fire burning in our heart that let me do more. Let me overcome my petty anarthas for the sake of serving. And it's a weight that comes on the head of the followers of the spiritual master and the acharya when he leaves. And that's a good weight. By weight, by resistance, we grow. And so that's the other duty after Tirubhava, that say, okay, he left us instructions and plenty to do. So let me take my fair share of responsibility, not squander the inheritance. When you get an inheritance from a relative, you have to do something with it. Otherwise, if you lose it all, you're not only an ingrate, but you're not considered well in the eyes of others. And Prabhupada told us, actually, he said, just at least maintain what I've given you. At least maintain what I've given you. And also, he indicated through the way he reciprocated with devotees that those who took responsibility, even as he was present, received his attention. He was very unsentimental in the way that he reciprocated with devotees. When devotees were practically engaged and obviously seriously following the rules and regulations and doing something tangible to help him with the mission, which was his heart, life and soul, he was following his spiritual master, then he gave them attention. I may have told you this story previously, but one of my godbrothers who went to India to join Prabhupada early on, because Prabhupada said, I'm going to India now to start the movement there. And he requested some devotees to come. So one of my godbrothers collected his money for his ticket and then flew to India. And he told me that he spent some really nice time there where he had access to all darshans. Prabhupada gave darshan every evening. He could sit there and listen to Prabhupada personally, but he didn't feel the connection because Prabhupada really didn't reciprocate with him. He didn't notice him, didn't glance, didn't speak to him really at all. However, some months later, when he got an opportunity, my godbrother, to go to South India on a preaching tour, where he and a few other devotees working together had made a big splash. They went to Coimbatore and a few other places. It was in the newspaper. It was a big deal because these are Westerners and they were dressed in saffron, and they came there and they actually knew how to quote Sanskrit, and they actually had a debate where they defeated a local pundit, and it was a big deal. It was a first in ISKCON. And when these devotees came back, my godbrother said, that's when Prabhupada started talking to me. That's when he noticed me. And so he was very practical in that way, that he noticed that somebody was taking responsibility, as he had taken all the responsibility on his head to make sure that the Krishna consciousness movement got spread. Because after his guru left, there was a huge conflict in his Guru Maharaj's institution. And it was kind of like the present day political scene here in America, where there were two sides and they just couldn't work it out. And it was intractable. And so, rather than carry on the mission, they really leaned into the legal battle. And Kurnath Prabhu can tell you that can get expensive. Actually, I can tell you too, because I'm watching a few legal cases going on here and there, and it's not cheap. And the Gaudiya Math really became fragmented. And Prabhupada, knew that his guru wanted everyone to cooperate, but they weren't able to do it. But he took it upon himself to carry out the mission, as we all know. And that's a huge burden. So one of the ways in which we get tangible connection to Srila Prabhupada, whatever generation of devotee you're in, whatever a generation you're in, coming from Prabhupada's line, your service in his mission, taking responsibility to not only edify yourself by the process of devotional service, but also by taking up some kind of work that requires consternation and austerity in order to perform it, as most work does to some degree. To that degree, you'll feel this connection with Srila Prabhupada and with the whole Guru Parampara. I personally, when Prabhupada disappeared from the world, was in New York City at 340 West 55th, 28th and 9th. We had been going out regularly to distribute books, and on the day after he left, my Sankirtan partner and I went out to our spot, and I felt immediately connected. I was wondering what would happen, because you never know what's going to happen when your guru leaves the planet. And I really didn't know what to think or what was coming up. I had no experience of such a thing. I had never lost anyone in my life at all. And then when it happened, and the devotees were overwhelmed by many different kinds of emotions, and it was a very, very heavily emotional time, and also confusing in some ways. When I went to my Sankirtan spot, my normal service, the one I knew was pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, and I stepped on that spot where I would stand every single day and distribute books, I felt as if I was charged with some kind of spiritual electricity. It came up through my foot and through my whole body. And I had this sense that now, oddly enough, that Prabhupada has left, I'll never be separated, because I know that through this service, which I don't intend ever to give up, I will be connected to him. So he reasons ill who tells that the Vaishnav dies, or Vaishnavas die to live, and living try to spread the holy name around. And if we can die tava pache pache, run behind the great soul and try to do something for that great soul, then our lives become happy and complete, because it pleases Krishna to do so. So we have such a great opportunity. I was thinking today, when I was listening to Giriraj Maharaj's really profound answers to questions yesterday that he gave to the devotees in Pune. He spoke on Prabhupada's Disappearance Day. And somebody brought up the point about boiling the milk. Prabhupada had said that a couple of times. We should boil the milk, meaning that he said, "Don't make me be like Alexander the Great." He would go and conquer places, and then he'd move on to the next place, and he'd lose the previous area that he had conquered. And Prabhupada said, "It better keep the devotees who come, rather than always making more and more, and then losing the ones that we have, and so forth." And it made me think that we're fortunate to have each other. We have a defined system. We've been working together for years now, and moving towards service that we're very sure is unassailable in the eyes of Prabhupada. And this is the method. Always endeavoring to increase our sadhana. Some of the things that Prabhupada really appreciated was when devotees strictly followed their sadhana, and chanting 16 rounds, following 4 regular principles, and also reading his books. It was very important to him. In fact, he writes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that all the members of the Krishna conscious movement should read all the books. Otherwise, they'll go back to eating, sleeping, and fall down. And Prabhupada was so. It was a miracle that happened when he came to the West, and he actually got hundreds and then thousands of followers. When he went back to India, I mean, people couldn't believe it because it just seemed impossible. But it was Prabhupada's mood through which he had done that, that he had that Kripa Shakti, through which, by following his guru and the mood of the Bhagavatam, which is Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Shumba Yavanaka Sadaya, Yenecha Papa Yada Pashraya Shraya Shujanti Tasmai Pravavishnive Namaha. I like that Kautukarnava. You always look it up. That's really smart. And this verse, Shukadev Goswami says, this is, anybody can become Krishna conscious. What a merciful mood the Vaishnav has. Okay, but Prabhupada, he's the most special Vaishnav. There's no one more merciful than Prabhupada. To come into the hippie movement, when he came out of Bengal, where if you touched the shadow of a meat eater, you take a bath in the Ganga with all your clothes on. What to speak of having them serve you, cook for you, and all those kinds of things. Even one of Prabhupada's exalted godbrothers, at first, when he met Prabhupada and his devotees, and one of Prabhupada's disciples cooked, he was hesitant. In fact, he didn't take. He changed his position later, but it's very difficult to break out of a culture and actually go to another culture. Sometimes people think that Prabhupada's mood is out of step with the culture, and they cite various things that he said here and there, incidentally, for one reason or another, in various contexts. However, if you actually examine what his nature was, that he fully embraced the culture just so that he could give Lord Chaitanya's mercy to everybody. And the most liberal-minded, liberal-hearted mood, following the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Shri Nityananda Prabhu in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's what happens. And so encouragingly, on these disappearance days, when we can remember the spiritual feat, the miracle that Prabhupada performed and still performs to this day, he positioned himself so intelligently so that the whole ship could hold together. Giriraj Maharaj was reminding us when Prabhupada was getting ready to leave the world in Vrindavan, Giriraj Maharaj went to him. Actually, Prabhupada called him. And Prabhupada was so weak that Giriraj Maharaj said he had to lean so close to Prabhupada's body just to hear him speak. And Prabhupada asked him, "It will go on, the movement, will it go on?" And Giriraj Maharaj answered that if we're sincere and we chant our rounds and it will go on. And Prabhupada then didn't answer for about a minute and a half. And then he said, organization. And then he said, intelligence. And so Giriraj Maharaj was saying, obviously, sincerity and the spiritual principle has to be there. But Prabhupada also saw the Gaudiya Math fall apart. And he wanted organization. He wanted intelligence to keep the whole thing together and to be a conduit for Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's mercy all over the world. In fact, he was saying, was Giriraj Maharaj, that when Prabhupada was deciding to stay or go, he was bringing the devotees closer to him because they couldn't imagine a world without Prabhupada, his disciples that were there with him in Vrindavan. And at one point when he was asking them to make a decision about me staying or going, Prabhupada said, call the GBC. He was training them at that time and before that, how to organize, how to cooperate, how to make decisions together to execute his orders, because he had seen what can happen without that. And so all of that goes to his all-encompassing mood of mercy to make sure that everybody gets a chance to take to Krishna consciousness. So back to what I was saying, that we have an opportunity together, and somehow we've come to be one group, all of us that are connected from any part of the world in the same mood, following Prabhupada, and we feel empowered by that fidelity, and also we feel empowered by the kinds of instructions that he gave and the mission that he handed us. And somehow or other, everyone using his or her talent to whatever ability, we have an opportunity in this community that we've developed to work together. And in doing that, because Prabhupada was so empowered by that hard work and austerity of keeping to our practices, we will, by the power of Srila Prabhupada, be transported to the spiritual world. Is that sentimentality? No, that's Srimad Bhagavatam. As it's mentioned by the demigods to Lord Krishna within the womb, Twayam Bujaksha Kila Satvadamni Samadhi Naveshita Chetasaike. Twatpada Potena Mahatkritena Kurvantiko Vatsapadam Bhavabdim. In this verse, the demigods say to Lord Krishna in the womb that the real purpose of life is to keep one's mind focused one pointedly on Krishna, who's Satvadamni. He's the source of all spiritual energy and of all the worlds for that matter. And he's the ultimate goal of life. And then they say, Twatpada Potena Mahatkritena. There is a boat that will take you across the ocean of the material world. And that boat is called Mahatkritena. The great souls, the acharyas, who distinguish themselves, they become so self-effulgent, and their potency becomes so great that these great souls create a system through which people in general can follow devotional service wherever they are. And Prabhupada writes that the acharyas do it for themselves first, so that they are going back to Godhead, but then they leave it for everybody else so that everybody else can go back to Godhead as well. Now, what is that boat? It's the instruction and the system given. And Prabhupada systematized the Krishna conscious movement and told us, here are the basic tenets, follow these. He gave us a formula that works perfectly. It's a boat, you can get in it. But what is the nature of the boat? Prabhupada writes in Krishna book, when you approach that boat, That is, you go towards the process. The boat is so effective at transporting you back to the spiritual world that when you even approach the boat and you say, yes, I'm going to follow this, that the ocean of the material existence shrinks. And now it becomes the size of the water contained in the hoof print of a calf. So you can actually step over it. You wouldn't even need the boat because it's that powerful. So this is the legacy, the sampradaya, the complete gift that Prabhupada gave us. And it is incumbent upon us to then give it to the rest of the world by making sure it works on ourselves, because a dead paramedic can't save anybody. And also because what will people think? If it doesn't work on you, why should I take it? We have to be exemplars and show that we're on our way back to Godhead. We're above the fray of the material world. How does that get translated? In our countenances and also in our manners, the way we treat each other, the way we are equipoised, the way we cooperate, which is the hardest thing to do in the whole universe. The living entities want to be independent, and they want to also be little Ishwars because we're part of the big Ishwar. So suppressing one's own independent creativity to intersect with others for the sake of spreading Krishna consciousness is a heroic act. And those who do it become exalted. And those who stick with the Krishna consciousness movement in any way, shape, or form with a non-offensive attitude are on the boat, and they're going to go back to Godhead also. And so that's Prabhupada's power, and that's his potency. So on this day of his disappearance, we can remember our gratitude and nourish that gratitude by remembering what did I get here and who gave it to me. I remember that frequently because as I've said previously, when I was sitting in suburban Lafayette thinking that I was a yogi of some kind, and then I got connection with Prabhupada through a magazine that later on I was thinking, he did this deliberately. He was looking for people like me. And, what a campaign. How do you find somebody in the remote, suburbs of Lafayette, California? Through his approach, making sure that, put these out there everywhere, these little notes in a bottle that go to put out millions of them, Prabhupada said. Why? Because he knew there are little Willie Sucheks out there hiding in a back room there in a suburb. And that is somebody's behind that. Somebody's behind that. That was Prabhupada's mercy, and that was his genius. And that was his organization and intelligence. Let's make that work. So we can take all these principles ourselves because we're rational human beings, and we're also devotees on the cusp of going back to Godhead. We can take all the ingredients Prabhupada gave us, and to the best of our ability, use that recipe and become eternally situated in Goloka Vrindavan, but we can also do a lot of damage before we leave to the material world. We can declare war. Prabhupada was a warrior, and that's a lot of fun to know that we're able to work together to, blow some major holes in the Kali Yuga by spreading the Sankirtan movement and leaving everything possible, all our energies, everything on the field, on the battlefield for Prabhupada. That is something that will guarantee us his merciful glance and his attention. So now we'll continue the conversation by asking Akurnath Prabhu to say a few words, if you will, Prabhu. I know you were there a minute ago. Now you're there, but you're on mute, which is a cause for lamentation for all of us.
Won't let me unmute.
We can hear you.
Prabhu?
Okay, because
Go
it's
ahead.
saying, it's giving me a message that the host is not allowing me to unmute. Okay. That was a very inspiring discussion. I won't take very long. I'm really, I have to file something tomorrow that I'm working on most of the night. But I'm glad to be here with all of you on this, very important occasion. This is probably my favorite, most important holiday of the year for me. And it is just amazing to see the power of such a Vaishnava as Srila Prabhupada, who has really changed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people and continuing more, or millions of people who really, take Srila Prabhupada's instructions to be the guiding core principle of their life for their great benefit. And it's not an ordinary thing. It's amazing that much of the world doesn't understand it or see it, or has no, they can see something that he's done is important. He's gotten recognition in popular culture sometimes, but to really understand what he's done, it can't be understood by non-devotees. And I'm glad to be able to, celebrate this remembrance of his disappearance with all of you, even though we can't be in the same room. At least we can be connected by Zoom and see each other's faces. I remember Srila Prabhupada talking about how Veda Vyas gave his disciple Sanjaya the power to be able to see what's happening on the battlefield and the discussion between Krishna and Arjuna as transcendental television, something like that, mystic television. So we have this television now, it is, it's a very important time to remember our debt to Srila Prabhupada, which, as Vaisheshika has been pointing out, is something that we should pay by active service as well as strict sadhana. Active service to this Srila Prabhupada cared very much for this institution, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, that he founded and guided. And now I recall to mind how he spoke about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disappearance, that he saw the disciples of his disciples as being sent by his spiritual master, and in a way seeing his spiritual master in the disciples. And now Srila Prabhupada is sending so many grand disciples, and that in a way, you are all another way that Srila Prabhupada is instructing his disciples by sending such good examples and carrying on such important work. And I promised I would be brief, and that's all I'm going to say. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Kurnath Prabhu. Jagarini, are you there? I just want to say something about Kurnath Prabhu. I appreciate how carefully you go through Prabhupada's books, and also how you defend the Siddhanta, knowing Prabhupada's mood, and also defending from various attacks on Krishna consciousness, on the ISKCON movement, and on the mood of pure devotional service of not criticizing devotees. And to me, it's extremely endearing. I think that the way that you do that you use your Pentium chip intelligence to express what the Siddhanta actually is from Prabhupada's books, and having read them carefully yourself, I think it's one of the most important services there is, actually, to help devotees to overcome various kinds of misgivings and misunderstandings about the philosophy or outright attacks. And so I thank you very, very much. And I think that it's something that is very important and very dear to Srila Prabhupada. And you don't have to say anything. I just
Well,
said
it means a great deal. It means a great deal coming from you.
Hare
And I
Krishna.
thank you for that. And I'll try to be better.
Jagarini,
Can you hear me okay?
your better half is here. So that's
Okay.
your better. Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you covered most of what I was thinking about today, because I was also reading the class by Giriraj Swami, and I found it very inspiring, especially the way he ends it. He basically says that we can choose whether we want to remain with Srila Prabhupada or not, be with him now or not. And I think that those final pastimes that Srila Prabhupada exhibited were extremely instructive. But interestingly enough, they kind of ended with two schools of devotees. The devotees at the end of that, unfortunately, didn't get along. One group wanted to follow. Prabhupada had wanted to go to in a bullock cart to holy places, and those devotees that were taking care of him knew that it would be very deadly for him to be jostled around in a bullock cart like that. So the two groups were kind of opposed to each other, and finally Prabhupada agreed to stay, which caused the devotees that wanted him to do what he wanted to do, to go to the holy places, to disagree. And Giriraj Swami said that he had been attached to different devotees in both camps. So it was on his mind, who was right, who was wrong. How do we interact with the spiritual master? Do we just do what he wants us to do for him, even if we feel like it would endanger him, kind of just abandon that and just do it? Or do we, go with our hearts and feel like we need to protect him somehow? And Maharaj was thinking like that, and that's when he read in the Damodar Leela that Krishna, it's actually a higher sentiment to love the spiritual master. It's beyond the duties. And Prabhupada wanted to bring that out in the devotees. So that was kind of a touching realization to read that Maharaj wrote. And I really, really liked that a lot. And I wanted to express my gratitude to you, Vaisheshika Prabhu, and all the devotees at ISV who give fertile ground for us to be able to grow with love. This ISKCON movement is getting very, very large. It's just marching on, and hundreds of people are joining, and it's grown so much from when we were kids and when we joined. And I feel undeservingly fortunate to be with a group of like-minded devotees who are touchstones of generosity and gratitude and love and you know, doing what they can to boost each other up and not tear each other down, because there's a lot of different devotees in the ISKCON movement that see things differently. And I just kind of want to glorify everybody at our temple and tell them to please keep up the good work. Keep loving each other. Work as hard as you can to distribute Prabhupada's books and to distribute prasadam, and be kind to each other, and, you know, overlook each other's faults and boost each other's spirits. And let's keep this this beautiful vibe going, that whenever I meet someone from another temple, they're always saying to me, oh, ISV, oh, I've heard all about ISV. It's the most wonderful place. And those are the things that make ISV such a wonderful place. And that was Srila Prabhupada's mood. He wanted, that was Giriraj Swami's conclusion. That's my conclusion, for whatever my faulty mind is worth, that Prabhupada was giving us an exercise of the heart. He was giving us discipline for our senses, but an exercise for our heart. He was teaching us how to love. It's different than material love. Material love is covered with lust. So you see shows about love or hear songs about love, and it's always about some kind of a lusty, sense gratificatory experience. But Prabhupada was teaching us spiritual emotion and how to express it to each other, and how to be ecstatically sad, which is what happens on this day. I think it sounds funny. It sounds like opposites, but it's there. It's a kind of a ecstasy, but a very deep sadness all at the same time when you think about Srila Prabhupada leaving us. But anyway, that's enough. I think I went over my time, but thank you all very, very much, and keep up the good work. Hare Krishna.
In community, when we're able to have a retrospective and see how we're doing, because oftentimes we're so forward looking we can't see. And I notice that you do that a lot. You take time to look in and then appreciate all the devotees here, and that always boosts us very much. Thank you for doing that, Jagarini, for all that you do. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Nirkula? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anjakalpachudhyasya kripa sindhu vyevicha patitanam pavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namaha. It's nice to be with you all today. So my day started out, I started chanting a little bit, and then Prabhu was giving a class on Srila Prabhupada on Facebook at 5 o'clock. So I listened to that class for 45 minutes or so. And then I was about to start doing some reading. And I thought, all of a sudden, Super Soul told me it's 7:20, it's almost 7:25 in Vrindavan. And I know that at that time, that's when the arati is performed in Srila Prabhupada's room. And I've had the good fortune many years to be there. And so I was just so grateful that, I was reminded that. So I plugged into that. And then two seconds later, Hansapriya texted me saying that arti's going on. Around the same time, Yamuna, who you all know, sent a text, or I think it was right after Prabhupada's arti. She sent a text with a class that her Guru Maharaj had given. And it turns out it was the transcript of the class that Jagarini was just speaking about, that Giriraj Maharaj had given. He gave it in, I think the first time was 2007. And so, I chanted some more rounds and started doing some things around the house, and I was listening to that class. And it's an amazing class. I really would recommend any of the devotees who are interested to go to girirajswami.com, and it's a class that he gave to Pune, and it's titled "Just See How Much They Love Me," ISKCON Pune, and the questions after it and everything are just beautiful in the way Maharaj answers them. So I was feeling really connected to Srila Prabhupada through his disciples and grand disciples. And then some time went by, and Radhavallabha Prabhu and Hansapriya had decided to cook a Bengali feast for Srila Prabhupada at the temple. And as part of their service, they distributed it to Srila Prabhupada disciples in the Bay Area. So they arranged all of this, this beautiful feast that was offered to Srila Prabhupada. And then, devotees dropped it off at various, homes in the area. And again, I was just feeling so overwhelmed. And I was feeling Srila Prabhupada's mercy through all of the devotees, and feeling such gratitude and so connected on this day that is so heart-wrenching, and as Chakravarti said, ecstatic at the same time. And I go along in my service, and I know that I'm really blessed. I'm blessed with my association, I'm blessed with my service. I know that, and I often feel like there's more I could do, or am I pleasing Prabhupada? How could I do more? How can I, change my attitude to be more surrendered and really give my whole heart and soul and being to Srila Prabhupada? And I just felt like today it's always there, but I really felt it today. I felt that reciprocation from Srila Prabhupada through my god brothers and god sisters and god nieces and nephews. And there was one class that Prabhupada gave on his Guru Maharaj's, on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disappearance day. And he one of the things he said was that on the absolute platform, the appearance day and disappearance day are both beautiful. Like one's like the sunrise and one's like the sunset. And so today is obviously the day that feels like the sunset. But at the same time, it's the day that really, for me, opens my heart the most. That feeling of separation, that feeling of gratitude for what Prabhupada did and what Prabhupada continues to do for all of us. And for me, who is so undeserving, who just got caught in the wave that Prabhupada started, the tsunami that he started. He was the quake that started the tsunami. And I've just got picked up and have been taken on that wave. And so I'm feeling very grateful and very indebted and very enthused to try and do more and try to do my best. And I wasn't expecting, I was feeling separation from not being in Govardhan and not being in Vrindavan. But today was absolutely fantastic, contemplative and listening to Maharaj's class. And so I'm very grateful to Srila Prabhupada, grateful that I have all of eternity to try and repay and serve him to the best of my ability, and grateful for his instruction his example, and for all of you and all of my God siblings. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Nirkula. Thank you, Radha Ballava Prabhu, for cooking today. In our Krishna conscious movement, I mean, one of the things Prabhupada taught us was the culture of Lord Chaitanya and how prema bhakti is passed down through prasadam. And when I took some of Radha Ballabha Prabhu's cooking today, I was transported to another stratum just by tasting it. And I was remembering how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat and took shock and described how each kind of shock imparted a different kind of spiritual realization. It was amazing. I agree with Nirkula about that. Hare Krishna. Here's an excerpt from Prabhupada's talk, the kind of spirit that he gave for everybody in the movement. He said, so I tried a little bit in that spirit. So he has given me all facilities to serve him. He's speaking about his spiritual master. Things have come to this stage that in this old age, I have come to your country and you are also taking this movement seriously, trying to understand it. We have got some books now, so there is little foothold of this movement. So on this occasion of my spiritual master's departure, as I am trying to execute his will, similarly, I shall also request you to execute the same order through my will. I'm an old man. I can also pass away at any moment. That is nature's law. Nobody can check it. So that is not very astonishing. But my appeal to you on this auspicious day of the departure of my Guru Maharaj, that at least to some extent you have understood the essence of Krishna consciousness movement, you should try to push it on. And in a similar mood, Prabhupada says, he says, those who understand, this was when devotees went and asked Prabhupada when they knew his departure was imminent, because he was very ill. And Prabhupada said, regarding passing on the disciplic succession and how to perform, who would perform Diksha after he left and so forth. You know, all these things came up so fast, and devotees were trying to clarify some of those things. One of the statements Prabhupada gave, which is telling, he said, those who understand the mission of Mahaprabhu, they can become guru, or one who understands the mission of his spiritual master, the same parampara, he can also become guru. So the whole point is that if we take seriously what we've been given and try to listen carefully, like in raga, in a scale, there may be one note that's different, and a person whose ear is trained picks up the thread of that song. Devotional service is hidden, but those through service to the Guru Parampara can actually understand it. Only they can pass it on to others, and we can't get that understanding without the outside influence of the Kripa Shakti coming through the great Acharya. So let's see if there's any reflections or questions that anybody like to make, and then we're going to have the Pushpanjali and Guru Puja. Shraddha Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna.
Thank you so much for citing from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I was just thinking that we had studied that those few chapters in the previous semester of Bhakti Vaibhav, but while we were reading it, I did not focus on it, on the spiritual master aspect of that narration there. So I was just thinking that we always we need the spiritual master to show us the path. And this is a classic example of such a fantastic choice that you took of how a disciple also similarly feels separation from the spiritual master. So thank you so much for.
It's an amazing section, isn't it?
Yes.
The analogy is very touching. Here's one other small section from there. This is from 428:51. My dear king, one Brahmana who was an old friend of King Puranjana came to that place and began to pacify the queen with sweet words. That's at the pyre, funeral pyre. The appearance, purport of an old friend in the form of a Brahmana is very significant. In his Paramatma feature, Krishna is the old friend of everyone. According to Vedic conjunction, Krishna is sitting with the living entity side by side. According to the Shruti mantra, Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakaya, the Lord is sitting within the heart of every living entity as Suhrit, the best friend. The Lord is always eager to have the living entity come home back to Godhead, sitting with the living entity as witness. The Lord gives him all chances to enjoy himself materially, but whenever there is an opportunity, the Lord gives good counsel and advises the living entity to abandon trying to become happy through material adjustment, and instead turn his face toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender unto him. When one becomes serious to follow the mission of the spiritual master, his resolution is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm going to repeat that. When one becomes serious to follow the mission of the spiritual master, his resolution is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kautakarnava, and how did that go over it in your ashram there, that last sentence?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, this is I was remembering that you also said that the internal energy in the order of the you said once in Bhagavad Gita purport that Prabhupada says that in the order of this Krishna we can see the internal energy is present in the order.
Yeah, it's in the second canto. Prabhupada writes that the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a manifestation of the internal potency of the Lord. And it's by that internal potency, that instruction, that one can come see the Lord face to face.
I
emphasizes it so much.
I was just relating to that one, that just by doing the service and satisfying the spiritual master and the good parampara, internal energy, Radharani, she makes sure that we can see Krishna. I mean, Krishna is, because we satisfy Radharani, so Krishna is attracted to see us rather than we.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. When one becomes serious to follow the mission of the spiritual master, his resolution is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained before, this means meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the instruction of the spiritual master. This is technically called Vani Seva. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states in his Bhagavad Gita commentary on the verse Vyavasayatmika Buddhir Eke Hakurunandana, that one should serve the words of the spiritual master. The disciple must stick to whatever the spiritual master orders. Simply by following on that line, one sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let's just take one more comment. Any last comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Vrindavan Das. Oh,
Sadhu.
yeah. So I was remembering from a letter I was reading to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada wrote that the spiritual master and Krishna are like two parallel lines. They're like two tracks. You have to worship them simultaneously. Krishna will lead you. He said that Krishna will lead you to the spiritual master, and that and the spiritual master will then guide you to Krishna. So I was just thinking how the spiritual master is so important, and what Srila Prabhupada did was amazing. And yeah.
Well, it seems to me that when you came out of the womb, you like immediately got on those two tracks. You were like a train coming into this world, ready to shoot back to the spiritual world, Sadhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Vaisheshika Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hansapriya.
I just wanted to share because I couldn't, stop myself from sharing that today, when in the afternoon the Prabhupada Aarti was going on at the temple, that's when the huge truck pulled up and it took over almost like a 3 parking spot. That many books arrived today at the temple. And even the guy who was doing the delivery, he was like, "What are you going to do with this many books?" And I just and I just felt like this is on Prabhupada Disappearance Day, on the noon time, the guy just from scheduled to come this week, but not necessarily today. But it just felt like Srila Prabhupada came and unloaded his labor of love for us. So I was just thinking that how much he's reciprocating the love for the ISV devotees, and those who are dedicated to go out with the rain or virus or anything, making phone calls, finding a creative way to give the books out. So I just couldn't stop sharing that how much I felt that labor of love of Srila Prabhupada came for us today.
Hey, that's a good one, Hansapriya.
Thank you.
In 1975, when the marathon for the Chaitanya Charitamrita was finished and they printed the books, they set a record. That is the BBT. It took a whole train carrying all the paper and everything like that to print all those books. And they said it was a record that we set, for that publishing company. And Prabhupada loved that kind of thing. Those were some of the leading indicators of how the movement was going and how he judged how the temples were doing. So, despite everything else that's going on in the world, these huge loads of books are still coming in, and that was Prabhupada's heart and soul. Speaking of which, did the Sankirtan devotees have a statement to read? Did that ever manifest? Or will what you just said suffice for that now? Did you contact them?
No, sorry, Prabhu, I did not.
Okay, then, Malini, are you there listening?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhu. All wish Prabhupada.
Please
Yes,
make
Prabhu.
a prayer to Srila Prabhupada on our behalf of everybody for our success in the marathon.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, on this most auspicious day, your disappearance day, we devotees at Team ISV take shelter at your lotus feet. There are so many things that are going on where our usual avenues for book distribution may seem to be not working out. But we see that you are even one door is closing, a new door opens, and we are totally dependent on you to somehow or other help Team ISV to not just meet our goals, but also to smash, and also help other temples throughout North America and the world to somehow meet their goals and smash their goals. We feel unqualified to do this service for you because you have done so much, and we are not able to do enough to please you. But whatever little service that we do, like a small squirrel, we request that you please accept it and help us continue in the service to you. Please give all the strength to the devotees to try their best, to try everything possible to leave no stone unturned. And also we pray that please protect all the devotees of ISV and throughout the world from this virus and any other things that are going around. And we also request you to please protect our Vaisheshika Prabhu, Nirakula Mataji, and all Prabhupada's disciples. Give them good health so that they can continue to shower their blessings upon us. Thank you so much for considering this request.
Gaur Premanande Haribo.
Thank you, Srila.
Well, that was the best part of the evening for me. Okay, well, now we're going to have Pushpanjali and followed by the Guru Puja. So please equip yourself with some flower petals if you don't have any. I know it's wintertime, there's not a lot of flowers growing. Then you can offer them mentally and virtually, 2 degrees of separation. Hare Krishna. I think it might be better there, and I'll do the kirtan. Yeah.
Okay.
Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katahmayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvatutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitanscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamine Shri Barshabana Videvi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryo Jvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Srimatayi Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Gaurakishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambore Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sakshidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virbhava Bhomestvam Nirdesa Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Namo Mahavaranya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Surupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Manda Matirgati Vatsarva Swapadam Bojao Radha Madana Mohana Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumata Srimad Ratnagara Sinhasanasta Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Krishtalibi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasarasarambi Vamshivatatatastita Karshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinatha Shri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So now we'll offer pranams to Prabhupada's pranam mantras 3 times, and after each time we'll offer flowers and then Dandavata obeisances. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve.
Namaste Saraswate Deve.
Gauravani Pracharine.
Gauravani Pracharine.
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi.
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi.
Paschatya Deshatarine.
Paschatya Deshatarine.
Esha Pushpanjali. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya.
Namo Vishnu Padaya.
Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale.
Krishnaya Bhutale.
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta.
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta.
Swami Niti Namine.
Swami Niti Namine.
Namaste Saraswati Deve.
Namaste Saraswati Deve.
Gauravani Pracharine.
Gauravani Pracharine.
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi.
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi.
Paschatya Deshatarine.
Paschatya Deshatarine.
Esha Pushpanjali. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Namo Vishnu Padaya.
Namo Vishnu Padaya.
Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhakti Vedanta.
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta.
Swami Niti Namine.
Swami Niti Namine.
Namaste Saraswati Deve.
Namaste Saraswati Deve.
Gauravani Pracharine.
Gauravani Pracharine.
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi.
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi.
Paschatya Deshatarine.
Paschatya Deshatarine.
Esha Pushpanjali. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Samsara Davan Hadalita Loka Chanaya Karunya Ganaganatum Samsaratavam Nadalita Loka Chanaya Karunya Ganaganatum Praptasya Kalyana Gunarnavasya Pande Guroshi Charanaravinda Praptasya Kalyana Gunarnavasya Praptasya Kalyana Gunarnavasya Vande Guroshi Charanaravindan Praptasya Kalyana Gunarnavasya Vande Guroshi Charanaravindan Vande Guroshi Charanarabindam Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita Paritra Madhyam Manasora Sena Romanchakampa Shutaranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam 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 Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanara Shingaratanvam Viramarjanada Yuktasya Bhaktam Chaniyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam 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 Chaturdhashi Bhagavat Prasada Sadhana Triptam Hari Bhakta Sangam Kritva Triting Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Radhika Madhava Yaurapara Madhurya Lila Gunarupanam Pratikshana sadhana lulpasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Pratikshana sadhana Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Nikunjayuno Rati Kelisida Yaya Lipi Gupira Pekshaniya. Tatrati Daksha Dati Vallabhasya. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Tatrati Daksha Dati Vallabhasya. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Sakshadari Premastamasta Shastra Ruktastata Bhavyata Eva Sati. Kintu Pravorya Priya Eva Tasya. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. 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 Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado. Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutopi. Jayam Suvam Stasya Yasya Stri Sandyam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Gaur Premanande, Hari 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 Bo. Dama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtachari Shatadine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Gaur Premanande Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Panchatattva ki jai. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Sadhu, go. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Premanande, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Shri Harinam Mantra ki Jai, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Tirubha Mahamahotsav ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Sadhu, unmute so we can hear it. Play that bass clarinet.
I figured out how to play one tune. Should I play that?
Just play it. Sadhu, you are a beautiful devotee. You know that? Everything you touch sounds beautiful. Thank you very much. Everyone, this is mark this time and date when we are here stuck in a pandemic and we went on worshiping the pure devotee. Narayanak paraksarve nakutashchana bibyati swarga pavarga narakeshu apitulyarta darshana. Whatever situation we're in, we don't mind so much. We just go on serving Krishna and worshiping his pure devotee. And that way we attain success in life. And now a final farewell given by Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu to give a special blessing for a book distribution, please.
Hare Krishna, Dandavad Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, I just want to share a good news. Our own Sundaram Prabhu he called me this evening and he want to donate 10 cases of Bhagavad Gitas for our Gita Marathon Prabhu. So he need all blessings for distribute so many books and sold many houses in Bay Area.
Haribo!
So
10 cases for Sundaram Prabhu.
So on this auspicious day, Prabhu, we seeking your blessings and Srila Prabhupada blessings to protect us. And our goal is coming soon, Prabhu, with your blessings and Prabhupada blessings. You please shower blessings on us so that we are inching towards our yearly goal, Prabhu.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, dear Sri Radha Madan Mohan, Sri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, please empower our hearts with intense desire to please the lotus feet of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada by distributing his books in ever-increasing quantities. Please let us specifically smash the goal we've set for this marathon. Please reveal to us new ways
to put books in the hands of hundreds, thousands, and millions of people. And please let the global Sankirtan team come together, working together to reach new heights, doubling, tripling, quadrupling, quintupling. I'm not sure how the other ones work, but at least 10 times, 100 times more than we are now. Thank you for considering our request.
Keep them safe.
What?
Keep them safe.
And may everybody be under the protection of the divine energy of the Lord and always safe. Thank you for considering our request.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu, to adding a perfect accent to the most auspicious evening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hold on, I'm going to switch over. Okay.
Hare Krishna, dear Vaishish Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
My humble obeisance, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, under the guidance of with Malini Mataji, we did 11 cases in yesterday and today. I just wanted to offer to you, Prabhuji. This is the new way we tried, and it helped, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I just wanted to offer on this auspicious.
Well, you got to tell us what you did. We're very interested to hear. What's the new way?
So the new way is we are connecting the realtors all over North America, not only our Bay Area. So we are trying to call them and request the realtors to give the Gita gift as to their clients, and they're happily 3 realtors accepted, and 11 cases in North Carolina. We started with North Carolina. Malini Mataji gave that state first to me. So from past 3 days I'm working, Prabhu. So far 11 cases.
Haribol. Now, are they called realtors because they know what reality is? Because the Bhagavatam is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. And I think that's amazing.
So I just did one survey, Prabhu, on suleka.com. Just only I searched for Bay Area realtors, Prabhu. More than 400 Indian realtors I found, Prabhu. Just
okay.
We can work towards all this December towards this, Prabhu. There now because of the working from home, Prabhuji, everybody looking for houses to buy, and this demand is more for this, and then we can distribute Bhagavad Gitas.
Well, this is big news, and as usual, Srisha Mataji is leading the charge. Fearless heart. Lord Chaitanya had the roar of a lion, the heart of a lion, and you've taken on that vibration and you're taking it forward. Thank you very much for your fearless service. Please feel free to smash it all, to take it up 400 realtors in their Bay Area, and each one of them thousands of books. Hare Krishna. Way to go, Srisha Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Last chance.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Boy, are we missing you.
Little obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
So nice to see you.
Thank you, Prabhu. So we like to sponsor 2 cases of Bhagavad Gita.
Haribo! Hare Krishna.
Haribol Jai.
Thank you very much. Malini, are you still there?
Yes, Prabhu, I'm noting it down, Prabhuji.
Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada...
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So we would like to sponsor 10 sets of Bhagavad Gita.
Oh my God.
Haribol!
Haribol! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3,
Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada 0.5. How much are the cases, Malini?
Prabhu, each case is just $108.
Only.
It is either
Only.
soft bound or hard bound. Soft bound has 24 Bhagavad Gitas in it, and hard bound has 16 Bhagavad Gitas.
And where are they going? Give us an image of what's happening.
Prabhuji, they will be going all throughout the North America. One thing is that we are sending it to all the vegan restaurants around North America. We are sending them to prisons. We are sending them to hospitals. We are sending them to motels. And we can send them to libraries as well.
Okay, one case on behalf of Nirukula Devi Dasi.
Hari Hari Bol.
Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1. I can't tell if anybody raises their hand.
Namsmaran Prabhu has typed in. He's asked
Hare Krishna.
11 cases.
Wow.
Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada 0.5.
Oh, Radha Kripa.
Radha Kripa Prabhu, 10 sets.
Haribo.
Haribo! Cases. Cartons. They call them at the BBT cartons. 10 cartons. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9. What happened?
Prabhu, I just got a text from Kumari Leela that she wants to sponsor 11 cases of Bhagavad Gita for Haldar Rupa Prabhu's grandmother who just passed away today.
Oh, wow. Passed away on Prabhupada's Disappearance Day, and 11 cases of Bhagavad Gita's sponsored in her name. We make special prayers for her for swift transfer to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna in his eternal pastimes. Gaur Premanande Haribo. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada...
Maharaj, Giridhar Vadlu has sponsored one case.
Haribo!
Prabhu, Vinay Prabhu's his newly born son Aditya. You want to sponsor on his name one case from.
Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5.
Maharaj, Bharat Sharma has sent in for 5 cases of Bhagavad Gita.
5 cases, Bharat Sharma, Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6.
Aprame and Anname, 1 set Bhagavad Gita.
Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6. Today's Bharat's birthday. Haribo! Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2. Prabhupada. What happened, Malini?
Prabhu, Madhav Prem Prabhu and Padma Kumari Devi Dasi, they want to sponsor 5 cases on the name of Anaya Radha, their daughter.
Haribo! Anai Radha Ki Jai. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5.
Sivakumar Prabhu wants to sponsor for his parents' health 5 cases of Bhagavad Gita.
Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. 10 cases we like to sponsor for Bhagavad Gita here.
Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 8, 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6,
Hare Krishna
Prabhupada...
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So Ramakrishna Viravalli is sponsoring 1 case of Bhagavad Gita on behalf of you and Guruma.
Oh, that's so meaningful. Thank you very much. I'm really touched. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8.
What happened?
This is Ashray Madhav.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. We would like to sponsor 3 sets.
Haribo!
Thank you.
Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8.
Abhay and Balaram are sponsoring 2 cases.
2 cases. Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada 0.5.
Prabhu, Achyuta Kumar Prabhu is sponsoring 6 cases of Bhagavad Gita from Aradhya and Avanish.
Haribo! Prabhupada 10,
And
Prabhupada 8.
Natwar also has sponsoring 2 cases.
Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1. Did I tell you that we have a goal for the world for 2 million Gitas? Did I also tell you that some of the devotees in Atlanta are doing 500 books a day? We got to catch up at the airport. Prabhupada 0.5, Prabhupada 0.25, Prabhupada. Maharaj.
Natalie Brown Mataji sponsored 1 box of Bhagavad Gita in the name of Apurnath Prabhu and Jagrini Mataji.
Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9.
Prabhu, somebody, Giridhar Prabhu, he would like to sponsor 1 more case of BG for our spiritual master Sripad Sudarshana Ramanujacharya.
Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9.
Prabhu, Sri Kumar Prabhu wants to sponsor 1 case of Bhagavad Gita.
Jai Shri Kumar Prabhu. Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8.
Prabhu, Mayank Agarwal Prabhu want to 2 cases of Bhagavad Gita.
Jai Mayank Prabhu. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4. This is really it. Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2. This could be it. Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada 0.5, Prabhupada 0.25, Prabhupada point.
1 more came in. 5 more came in.
Radha Kripa Prabhu is doing 5 more.
Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4.
Kartukarna Prabhu want 2 cases. Prabhu.
Jai! That's like at the Chipped Rice Festival where the merchants were selling it and then coming and taking the prasadam themselves. He donates them, distributes them. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9.
Vraja Devi Mataji want to do 5 cases. Prabhu.
Jai Raja Devi, Ki Jai. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7.
Prabhuji, we want to sponsor 1 set Abhay's 13th birthday to seek blessings of our Vaishnavas.
Hari Bo!
Abhay, our own Abhay birthday from Hare Krishna.
Jai Ho! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 4, 5, I missed 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1.
Prabhu, today Sham Sundar Prabhu and Harikatha Mataji, they just had a baby boy on Prabhupada's Disappearance Day.
Really?
And I would like to sponsor 1 case of Bhagavad Gita on their newborn son's name.
Hari Bo! Another Sankirtan devotee.
Jai.
10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4,
Maharaj,
3.
Sukhada Gauranga Das, 2 cases of Bhagavad Gita.
Way to go, Sukhada Garanga. Hari Bo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4.
Rohini would like to sponsor 1 case of Bhagavad Gita.
Jai Rohini! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1.
2 cases for Part's birthday.
Haribo, Part birthday, ki jai.
Keshwari,
Prabhupada.
one more.
One more from?
On behalf of Srivasta's birthday.
Jai. Prabhupada 10.
Vijay Damodar Das. Vijay Damodar Das, one case for speedy Krishna conscious progress of my mom.
Jai. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1.
Prabhu, there was a typo from Braja Devi Dasi. They would like to sponsor a total of 10 cases, not one case.
Haribo! Those zeros make a big difference. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6.
Prabhuji, I want to also sponsor for Shyam Sundar Prabhu. There's some new Sankirtan devotee, one case.
Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9.
Prabhu, 2 cases from Ramrati Prabhu and Kamalashri Mataji.
Oh, fantastic. Haribol. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada.
One case from Shama Bhaktadas and family.
Jai Shama Bhakta Prabhu. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1.
Hold on.
Prabhupada.
Prabhu would like to do 11 sets. Radhavalla Prabhu would like to do 11.
Wow,
Haribo! Wow. That's huge. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada.
Prabhuji, on Srivatsa's birthday, Sukeshwari Mataji didn't mention the count, but she said she wants to sponsor.
One.
Okay.
There's another case from
One more for Srivata.
Yes.
No. It's a case from Vedashri Mataji.
Oh, Vedashri. Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada 0.5, Prabhupada 0.15.
Since you said one more, Sukeshwari Mataji is sponsoring one more for Srivatsa.
Haribo! Racking up the spiritual assets. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada
has sponsored 5 cases.
Haribo! That's huge. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5. When one Bhagavad Gita goes into somebody's home, it changes their whole family tree. You'll notice that somewhere along the line, it's going to hook onto somebody, and that whole family tree, generations forward and backwards, is going to change. This power of the written kirtan going out into the world is the way to make a systemic change in society. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam avadyavatvi. It turns over the material civilization by the power of the translated literature. But that still leaves me at Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada 0.5, Prabhupada 0.125.
I will sponsor one case from all my family members.
Haribol! Oh, Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2.
Swaran Prabhu is doing 2 cases in the memory
Haribol! That's a lot of books going out into the world. Those beautiful books coming out of the cases into, hospitals, homes, people's cars, door to door. It's amazing. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5.
Hare Krishna.
Kishore, go ahead.
It's Priya Kishore. I'd like to sponsor one set for Srivas Pandit Prabhu and Srivatsa and Hansapriya Mataji, who all had birthdays within the last 2 weeks.
Haribo!
So Priya, is this one each or one for all?
This time it's one for all, soon one for each.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Also, right?
Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada 1.
Hare Krishna. I'd like to sponsor a set on behalf of Parts.
Wow, Vantika, way to go. Fantastic. One for Bharat. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada .5, Prabhupada .125.
Maharaj, one case from Shyama Bhakta Das, Shyama Karuna Devidasi, and Vaishnavi from Facebook.
Haribo! Facebook is, the devotees are coming in. Thank for Sham Bhakta, Sham Karuna, and Vaishnavi. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada. By the way, if you're on Facebook, feel free to just write in. We'll count it. It all counts, and it goes in your spiritual portfolio. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada.
So Prabhuji, we had His Grace Srivas Pandit Prabhu's birthday on the 15th, 3 days back, and all the Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav students, they collected some Lakshmi. And we have raised $2,386.38. And then that accounts to 20 cases of Bhagavad Gita and 1 SB set.
Haribo! Now that is sweet. That is really sweet. It's a reciprocation of gratitude for his amazing service that he's doing. That is so nice, Achyuta Kumar Prabhu. Thank you for announcing that. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada .5.
Sponsor one for the safety of Ramananda Prabhu so we can continue our service at the temple.
Ramananda Sakra Prabhu Ki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice work, Hansapriya. Really smart. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada .5, Prabhupada
Two more came from Mayank Agrawal for his mother.
Haribo! Hare Krishna. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5. They can hear this on the heavenly planets. You know that? This is such a sweet sound, Prabhupada's name, and then it's going for book distribution. This is a virtual yajna where we're putting assets in the fire of sacrifice. Your hard work. Nobody works harder than you guys. And you're putting your hard work. And look how joyful you are. This is the meaning of yajna, and that's what makes life go round. That's what makes the world go round.
Two more. Aman. Two more
Well, look at that, Bhakta Aman.
Yes.
Haribo, Bhakta Aman, way to go. 2 cases. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada .5.
Purushottam is saying one case is for all the cows around the world.
Haribo, SKP, cows ki jai. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1. Coming to the end, everyone's getting tired. I'm seeing people yawning out there. It's a school night. People have homework. Prabhupada 0.5, Prabhupada 0.125.
Radha Kripa Prabhu. One case for Mataji's birthday.
Gaur Premanande Haribo. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is Ashray Madhav.
Hare
This
Krishna
is
Shai
Ashray
Madhav.
Madhav. 3 more. This is 3 more sets.
3
from
more.
us.
That's huge. That is absolutely huge. That's tangible. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1, Prabhupada 0.5, 0.125. Hansapriya, Malini, SKP.
So one set for our Hansapriya Mataji.
Haribo! Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1.
I'll do one set for Yashomati Nandan Prabhu.
Jai. All glories to Yashomati Nandan Prabhu. Nice one. Very well done. One more. Sadhu Vrindavan. One
This is
case on
from-
behalf of family.
From Raki in Facebook.
From Raki.
On behalf of her
Facebook.
family, one case.
Very nice. Way to go, Rocky. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1. Prabhupada 0.5. Prabhupada 0.125. I can't count any lower than that.
Prabhuji, one more case from our side.
Haribo! Okay. Hansapriya?
Yes, Prabhu.
We're getting late in the wee hours of the night, and I'm suffering because of the suffering of others. So if you want to donate a case, or 5 cases, or 10, or 100, or more, now's your chance, because it's coming down to the end. Here we go. The last countdown. Prabhupada, for donating to Prabhupada's Disappearance Day during the pandemic. Biggest marathon of the year. Prabhupada 10, Prabhupada 9, Prabhupada 8, Prabhupada 7. Bart doesn't believe me. Prabhupada 7, Prabhupada 6, Prabhupada 5, Prabhupada 4, Prabhupada 3, Prabhupada 2, Prabhupada 1.
I won't even flicker to get delivered, so I'll sponsor one for him.
Haribo! Prabhupada 0.5. Squeezing down to the end. Prabhupada 0.125. Give me a sign.
One case for Maharaj and Niratha from Vijay Damodar Das.
Jai, Haribol.
And one case for Shraddha Mataji from Radha Kripa Das.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
To be continued.
Prabhupada point. What's the next breakdown? Gaur Premanande, Hari Haribo. Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. I can't see Malini if she's happy or not.
Sorry, Prabhu, I had a text message, so I was wondering.
Okay.
if
Oh,
I got it.
there could have been another big one. Okay. SKP, are you satisfied, happy?
Yes, bro. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, very much. Are you all going to take prasadam now? Take rest only?
Prasadam, bro.
Sharira vijaja jotendriya kaheka jive pele vishaya shogade dharmaditi payati lobo moisu durmati Take jeta katita samsare Krishna bodha doya boy Kori bare jihva jai Shaprashadana diloba Seyadamrita pao Radha Krishna Guna Gao Preme Dako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Preme Dako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Ma Prashade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Sopa Punya Vatam Rajan Vishvaso Naivajayate Prasade Sarvatu Hanirasyo Pajayate Prasana Chetaso Yashu Bhuti Parya Vatishtite Twayo Prabhukta Shraganda Vasulankara Charchitaho Uchishta Brahno Dasas Tavamayam Jayi Mahi Bhagavat Shri Mahaprasada Ki Go Premanande Nita Goda Haribo 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 Tai Gaur Haribo Tai Gaur Haribo 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 Haribo. Sadhu, give us another thing real quick. Blow your horn.
Okay.
Go, Sadhu, go. Haribol. Can everyone please unmute and say Jai Prabhupada?
Jai Prabhupada!
Prabhupada!
Jai Prabhupada!
Jai Prabhupada! Jai Prabhupada!
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Please come take prasadam.
Haribol.
Yeah.
Yes, Pesika Maharaj ki.
Jai.
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 Done, Raj Devati.
Haribol.